Are the new TOA floors that bad? Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Okay, so, I want to start off this video with this one specific thing. I think the new tower floors are a good addition, provided that previous content doesn't suddenly start to get more difficult. This is because your pull count and the amount of astrites that you're getting every reset has not changed from before this update, meaning that you're not missing out or losing anything if you're unable to clear the new floors. And for people that are good at the game, or people that have invested more in the game, they get a little bit more rewards, and I think that's fair. So, I don't think this is a bad update, and I think it is perfectly fine as long as the other two middle tower floors remain at the same level of difficulty that they've always been at. And if a difficulty does increase over time, which is inevitable, then I would hope that it continues to do so naturally. And I would say the Tower of Adversity has generally done a very good job and not suddenly ramping up the difficulty out of nowhere. I would say that it's been fair, consistent, and generally speaking, quite nice. So I think the update itself is good. It's great that they added in some more tower floors. Now, what do I think about the actual floors themselves? I think it's pretty much fine. It is harder. It is going to be harder, and not everybody who could clear the other two middle tower floors is going to be able to clear the other new floors that have been added. 3 and 4 are difficult. They are supposed to be, and they provide additional rewards for being able to clear them, and I think that's fine. There is now a higher bar in TOA, and like I said before, this isn't making it worse for people who previously could clear all of the other floors, thus getting all of the other rewards. I think that if you're somebody that wants to clear with a 1.0 DPS, or just an older character in general within the new floors, that is still something that is perfectly doable, but you have to expect to be ready to shell out a little bit more investment, whether that be pulling for a good 5-star teammate for your character, or making sure that they have the right weapon, which I honestly don't think is that tall of an ask, because ultimately, you can still clear the whole thing with S0 characters across the board. Not to mention that you should consider that corals are a free-to-play friendly thing. You collect corals over time passively, and you can very easily invest that into your strongest DPS or your shorekeeper, because an S2 shorekeeper is going to be very strong for your overall account, and can definitely help you out on those harder floors. But either way, you're gonna be able to collect sequences over time, provided that you're not spending your corals on any other given materials. So, with that being said, I think that it's completely fair enough, because basically any DPS can clear it, and I think that asking for just a little bit more investment isn't really that tall of an ask. It'd be different if you needed DPSs of sequences in order to comfortably clear it, but I'd say that if you're still managing just fine on a 1.0 DPS, or even characters that don't have their right weapon, then I think you're honestly fine. I'd say that if your investment is higher, and you have a couple of sequences, a few weapons here and there, you're not really gonna feel like the new tower floors are that much more difficult. I feel like if you have a lower investment account though, you're just gonna have to put in more effort. That's pretty much the main thing here. As long as you're willing to put in effort, you should be fine. Another thing is that I believe that basically any 2.x DPS team is gonna be able to clear this, provided that they have their signature weapon, and that's pretty much it. I don't really think you need some crazy level of investment in order to clear these floors, and it's generally quite fair, and I think it makes sense. People who dedicate more time to the game, and people who log in every day to get their astrites and such, they're able to clear the hardest content. And people who practice the game and they know all of the mechanics in and out, it's also natural that they're gonna get a little bit more rewards. I think it's honestly completely fair. I don't really see anything too bad about this. It's harder, and it is more HP, but I don't really have a problem with it. On my own account, my Carlotta is on Static Mist, and she's not even all that well built. My Zani is pretty good to be fair, but my Carlotta is not. And I was still not really having any problems of clearing the new floors. Zani did definitely help out though, and her premium team is pretty expensive to be fair, but I feel like basically any other premium team with a relative amount of cost would do just fine. On a more high-end account that has sequences and such, I really had no trouble whatsoever with the new floors. So I feel like across the board, as long as you've been playing the game for a while and you know what you're doing, then there's not really gonna be any problems for you. Now, why would somebody not like this? It might just feel a little bit crazy all of a sudden that you can't clear TOA anymore if you've been clearing it so consistently for a while, but at that stage, you just need to start taking the steps to improve your account. I really don't think this is that bad because I think that they basically just introduced another form of natural progression. You're able to clear half of Middle Tower, great. Now you can start optimizing your account to clear the rest of Middle Tower, and side towers are extremely easy. You can build basically any DPS, even a 4-star DPS, and you'll be able to clear the side towers. So it's really only Middle Tower that you have to consider investing into. It's also nice that they added quick clear for the easy floors, very nice feature. So generally, I think that the new floors are a pretty decent addition. We'll just have to see how it goes over time. Whimpering Wastes is in a really rough spot right now, because I feel like that game mode kind of lost the point of its identity, and the HP counts are really high there. We're gonna have to see how wuwa pans out over time. TOA, I feel like the progression was completely fine, and I just don't really see much of an issue here. I can understand maybe people being a bit upset that they can't clear this or that, but genuinely, I think if you just put in the effort, you should be okay. It should be noted that wuwa is a skill-based game at the end of the day. The better you are at the game and the more effort you're willing to put in to learn the game, the more that you're going to be rewarded for said effort. I would say that if you've been coasting by on relatively low skill up until this point, then don't be too surprised if you're not able to clear the newer floors. You don't have to become some quick-swapping mega speedrunner god in order to clear the new floors. You just have to be better, and that's fine. It's fine that there's harder content available. Now, I can understand some people having an issue with this simply because of FOMO. They don't like the idea of missing out on astrites whatsoever, and if there are available resetting astrites, they should be accessible, and I think that's a fair enough take. However, I think that it's not really that bad because you're not losing any rewards. This isn't a case where they're postponing resets or just generally trying to lower the pull count for people that aren't able to clear all of the floors. It's literally the same, just with more rewards on top, so I just don't really see it as a net negative. Quite the opposite, honestly. I see all of this as a net positive. It's just hard to view this in a negative light, when really all that's happening is that people that are more experienced or more invested are winning. And yes, you could very much make the argument that those types of people don't really need the pulls as much. It's the people who can't clear that need the pulls more. And I suppose that's fair, but ultimately, I still think that wuwa gives out a lot of pulls every patch, even if you're a free-to-play, so you really shouldn't have any problem just saving up and investing in what you need to, and it's not even like the bar is that high. You just need to know what you're doing, and it's more difficult content for a reason, so I just don't really have an issue with it. Is it tough? It's definitely tough. It is definitely tough. I agree with that. It is totally more hard than the other two tower floors, and you could argue that having two bosses in one stage is maybe too unreasonable, maybe there's too many waves, maybe it's too many wuthering waves even, maybe there's just too much going on, and that's okay. It's fine if your account can't clear yet. Now, what I will say is that if you're not able to clear and you do have weapons on all of your characters, I would then advise looking at your forte. Is it maxed out? Have you appropriately invested in all of your other characters' gear? Do you have good echoes? Because good echoes really do make a big difference. There are a lot of little things that you can do in order to snag yourself that clear, even if it's just by a few seconds. I should also mention that it's very nice that you're given 30 extra seconds in order to clear this new TOA floor. The difficulty is higher, but I don't really think it's too bad. I think they're really just asking for a little bit more investment, and that's not really a problem. If you want to clear endgame, you have to put in effort to clear endgame. And I feel like if you have a problem with that, that's fine because you can still just clear what was there before, and it still provides a sufficient enough challenge while still letting you enjoy the meat of Wuthering Waves' gameplay at the end of the day. So, do I think that these new floors are bad? Are they super tough? I think they're tough, but I don't think they're bad. Ultimately, it's just more rewards for players that are good at the game, or people that have invested more, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Can I see why some people will be angry about this? Yes, I can, but I do think it's reasonable to ask you to get a little bit better. If your team is well invested and you're still not clearing, I hate to say it, but that is a skill issue. Now, if your team is not very invested, you gotta look to see what can you invest into next. Your echoes, your forte, your levels, different characters you might not have built yet, that sort of thing. I would say in those situations, you can honestly upgrade your characters a lot more than you might think. If you have level 9 fortes, getting all of your important fortes to 10 is more of a difference than you think. Small things like that do actually help, and I would say that if you can optimize your gameplay, do so. It'll be a fun time, and you're gonna get a lot closer to clearing. Every DPS can clear these new floors, I am fully confident in that. All the game is asking you for is just a little bit of skill, a little bit of patience, and just have some willingness to adapt, and I don't think that's too bad. Ultimately, what do you think about all this? I personally think the new tower floors are good. I can see how someone might be a bit worried about them at first, but I feel like over time people are gonna get a bit more used to it and realize these aren't really all that bad, and it's not really that bad of a change. I would only have a problem with it if every other tower floor started to get more difficult in relation to the new ones. Then it would be a problem because then the pull count for people that can already clear would be much lower. Then that's not good. However, For how things are now, it's just rewarding people for adequate effort. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. If you can clear off S0s, then I don't see the issue. At least that's my take on the matter. I understand that this might be a controversial opinion to some extent, because if you can't clear and you want the astrites, you're gonna feel bad about it. That's fair. But I just think that for what's being asked of you, the rewards are fair enough. And so is what you're missing out on. It's not even that much. It's 200 astrites. A single poll. Hopefully this video was able to tell you what I think of the new TOA floors. This has been Juice, signing out, and good luck building up your account.